Hey guys, this is Neil Barenblatt with Road Not Taken Films, and today we're going to learn to slow down high-speed footage, ramp it down even further, push it, and then get it to be smooth using an effect inside of Premiere called Optical Flow. So let's dive right in and get started. So I have this piece of footage that I want to look at, and I'm going to press the tilde key to make this screen full. And so now we can see this footage of grapes that I shot. I shot it at 120 frames a second. I didn't have any stabilization outside of the stabilization built inside of the camera. So no gimbals, no sliders, no nothing. Just me walking, filming these grapes with an A7 III in super slow motion. So I'm going to find the part of the clip that I like best by just scrolling through it. And I think I like this part best because you can see the lines of the flares, and I think that is super gnarly and pretty. So I'm going to find a good in point. I'm going to hit the I key. I think it's a good start right there. Play a little bit of it through and press the O key to mark the out point right there. And I actually want to select a very small piece of this clip because what we're going to do is bring it into a sequence with a lower frame rate, slow it down. So it's going to last a lot longer after we do that. So I'm going to press tilde to get out of this again and make a new sequence. And since I shot on a mirrorless camera at 24 frames in 1080, I'm going to select that setting and name this Grapes Slow-Mo. Something like that. Doesn't really matter. Cool. So it made that sequence in any random place, and I already have my folder structure set up to where I'm just going to drag it into versions under sequences. Awesome. So I'm already in there. So I'm going to go back to my clip. I've already got my in and out points selected, and I have a couple of options of how to bring it down in the timeline. I can drag it down, but you're going to see by the two layers that I'm getting video and audio. And really, since we're slowing this down, especially, all I want is video. So if you hold your mouse over the film strip, you have the option to drag video only. And if you hold it over the little audio sine wave thing, it's drag audio only. So I want to drag video only down in this timeline. When I do that, it's going to tell me that I have a clip mismatch. Basically, that's saying that this clip was filmed in 120 frames per second, and I'm putting it in a 23.976 timeline. I want that. I don't want to change my sequence to match that clip. Otherwise, we're not going to get the effect that we want. So keep existing settings is the way to go. Now, my clip is so small, I know it's there, but I can't see it. So let's just zoom in, or you can press minus and plus until you get in there. So now if I play through my clip, it's playing back inside of a 23 or 24p frame per second timeline. So I can see it's playing good. I could just leave it like that, but I want to slow it down. Now, what we need to know is the natural number of slow motion that we need, which is basically what is the correct percentage of slowdown that we need so it's a smooth playback inside of this sequence. And the way we do that is by opening our little calculator, and we divide the frame rate of the clip by the frame rate of the sequence. So the sequence frame rate is 23.976, and then we're going to divide that by 119.88, which gives us an exact 20%. So I'm going to get out of calculator, and I'm going to go back and right-click on my clip, speed duration, and change that from 100% to 20% and press OK. So let's zoom out a little bit so we can see everything. And then if I play through this clip, I get a really awesome, smooth, slow motion playback. That's great. We can end there and we're totally fine. But what if I want to push it just a little bit more? So let's give it a shot. So let's right click and go to speed duration and change that 20% to 10%. It's going to be a lot longer, twice as long. So let's zoom out and see what happens. What we end up getting is a really choppy slow motion. Sometimes we may want that effect if we're going for some kind of nostalgia or cheesy, dramatic moment. Maybe that works, but generally, I don't personally want that. I want something smooth, and I think that's what most of us want. Luckily, Premiere has an effect called Optical Flow that does allow us in certain circumstances, and depending on how things were filmed and what the action is, to do that. Now, I specifically picked this clip because I know there's not a whole lot of action and movement going on. There's a few things like the leaves moving and I'm rotating, but nothing is too drastic except for that. So we'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and right click the clip, go back to speed duration. We're at 10%, and let's change the time interpolation from frame sampling to optical flow. Now, I could be misleading on this, so correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but what optical flow does is interpolates pixels in between frames that already exist. So it's creating information based off of the change from one frame to the next. Now, what that means is if it's too drastic, there's going to be distortion. So let's press OK. The whole bar turned red, so we're going to need to render. And now what we have, we can see here, everything's moving pretty smoothly. The leaves, there's not too much drastic movement, so I like the way that's looking. The revolve is really slow. I love the way that's looking. What doesn't look right, and what I knew wasn't going to look right, was this lens flare. So basically, we're going to have to make a little bit of a sacrifice while still maintaining the super, super slow effect. And you can play with these numbers and try 14%, 15%, but my gut tells me that that lens flare is never going to be without distortion going below the natural percentage of slowdown for this clip. So there's a couple ways we can go about returning it to its original natural state and leaving the rest of it nice and slow, even slower than it should be. The most rudimentary way we can do it is just cut the clip and then right click on this part of the clip. We probably need to zoom in a little bit to do that and go to speed and return it to 20, bring this back and play through it. So that's all smooth. The problem is that there's an abrupt change between the two speeds. And maybe that doesn't bother you, but there is a way to smooth that out. So let's undo the separation of those clips. And we're going to smooth it out by keyframing the speed. So the way we can see those keyframes is to hold your mouse over the track over here, hold Alt on the keyboard, and scroll down so we can make this whole track bigger. After that, right-click on the clip, go down to Show Clip Keyframes, Time Remapping, Speed. So what that does is it gives us a line that we're going to be able to make keyframes on. Now, right now, if I move this line and I can see that I'm at 100%, what that's indicating is that I am at 100% of the speed of 10% because the clip is set to this speed right now. All this is dictated by that number. So what we need to do is find the point in the clip where the distortion stops and create a keyframe there. So I'm going to scroll through it. And it looks like this distortion over here stops right there. So the way I create a keyframe is I hold my mouse over that line and I command or control click, and voila, we have a keyframe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the line before the keyframe where all of the distortion is and bump it up to 200% of the 10%, which gets us to the original 20% of the speed. I know that's a lot of numbers and it's confusing, but bear with me. So right now, if we render again, now we can see that it actually looks a lot like had we cut the clip in two and change one speed to the next. And that's because there is a hard line on when that speed changes. Now, the beauty of using keyframes is that we can actually drag these handles out and create a transition like that. So you can already see we're getting a smoother transition between the two speeds. And this actually allows us to create a curve on that transition and smooth it out even more. So I'm going to create a small curve like that, zoom out so I can see everything on the clip. I'll shorten it a little bit just for time's sake to 4 or 5 seconds and render. And now when we watch it, we have a smooth transition between the speeds. We can make that even longer. Smooth transition between the speeds. It's more subtle than before. Nothing is distorted, and we have this beautiful slow-mo that goes even lower than what it's supposed to. all thanks to the way we shot it at a high frame rate, not too much movement, not anything too drastic, and anything drastic that we did have, we just respected the normal rules, and we come out with this effect that maybe you needed to extend a clip a little further, and this gets us there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Neil Barenblatt with Road Not Taken Films. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.